So in today's season preview video for the Vancouver Canucks, as always, I'll be taking a look at their roster, getting some numbers on the team, and also giving a playoff prediction for them as well. So let's talk about last year's Vancouver Canucks for a little bit. They got off to a bad start. Then they picked it up a little bit. Then COVID hit them. They weren't allowed to play for like 2 or 3 weeks. When you're not allowed to play for 2 or 3 weeks or even barely practice at all like they were during the midst of a regular season in the NHL, good luck trying to catch up to that moving train, and the Canucks never really were able to. Their power play last year was 17.4%, that was good for 25th, and their penalty kill was 79.8%, that was good for 17th. They were 24th in goals for with 148, and they were 26th in goals against with 187. You could attribute some of that to their mediocre penalty kill, but not really. I just think they have to be a lot better 5-on-5. They probably need to get better goaltending this year too. They brought in Braden Holtby, who they did buy out this past offseason. He was supposed to be the answer for them, I should say. Obviously he wasn't. And the Vancouver Canucks, I like their tandem this year though that they have. Now I'll get to their goaltending tandem in a little bit, but first let's take a look at their lineup from top to bottom. On the first line I have JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, and Brock Besser. For me, that's a very elite line. I mean, Miller's a very good player. I don't want to say he's quite elite yet. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but he's definitely getting there. I always thought of JT Miller as a 40 to 50 point type of guy, a good middle six to barely top six forward. But since he's come over to Vancouver, man, this guy has really taken off. He's no longer a secondary guy. He's one of the guys for the Vancouver Canucks, or at least he has been throughout his first 2 years out west so far. Yes, Elias Pettersson, you can't talk about him without talking about his contract these days. His ECL is up now. He has to sign another contract with Vancouver. There's a lot of talk about what the numbers will be. If you're Jim Benning, ideally you want to get him locked up long term, at least 6 to 8 years, and we'll see what they do there. Having Besser and Pettersson on the same line and the same power play unit is a great threat for Vancouver. Their power play probably should be better with those two guys alone on it. They can both shoot the puck like crazy, and they're both very sharp shooters, like I said, and it's almost unfair for the penalty kill that's facing them. On the second line, I have Nils Höglander, Bo Horvat, and Connor Garland. And yes, I love the addition of Connor Garland to the Vancouver Canucks. He makes that top six a little more strong. A top six who was decent before, but still needed a little bolstering offensively. They definitely get that now with Connor Garland in the lineup. Nils Höglander, I think, is just going to continue to be a great player. He had a great rookie season for the Canucks, and he's only going to get better. Well, Bo Horvat's not an elite player. He's a very good second-line center for the Vancouver Canucks. There's no shame in that. On the third line, I have Tanner Pearson, Jason Dickinson, and Vasily Podkolzin. And if I'm saying Podkolzin's name wrong, I apologize in advance. I think I'm saying it right though, but let me know in the comment section below about that. And I have Podkolzin starting on the third line for Vancouver, but he very well may move up to the second line and take Connor Garland's spot. So if they have Garland on the third line, that'll be great depth for Vancouver as well, because I do think Podkolzin will eventually end up being a second line player. If it's not this year, it's probably going to be next year. And on the fourth line, I have these three rounding it out. It's Tyler Mott, Brandon Sutter, and Matthew Highmore. Shift to defense now. In the first pairing, I have Quinn Hughes and Tyler Myers. Second pairing, Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Travis Hamonic. And on the third pairing, I have the youngster Jack Rathbone playing with Tucker Poolman. Quinn Hughes, great player, great offensive defenseman. Tyler Myers, I think, is a great partner for him. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's the one I really want to talk about, though. The career of OEL, and it's no secret, has been trending downwards over the last couple of seasons. I think he can bounce back, especially with all the talent around him in Vancouver. But on that contract, he kind of has to bounce back because it's not a great look for Vancouver as far as his cap hit goes if he's not producing. I do really like that they brought in Connor Garland, like I mentioned earlier. I think that was a very smart move by Jim Benning. The OEL contract, though, is very risky. If he can play up to his full potential, then it looks very good. If he doesn't, it obviously looks very bad. If he can be the Oliver Ekman-Larsson from 2011 to 2018, I want to say, 2019, then Vancouver will be getting a very good player and a player that will really help move them forward finally. And I'm excited to see what Jack Rathbone can do for the Vancouver Canucks this season as well. I think he should be able to make the team. And like I said, yeah, it'll be exciting to see what he can do. Extras at forward, and there's a lot of them I put down here. Zach McEwen, Justin Bailey, Philip DiGiuseppe, Justin Dowling, Jonah Gadjovic, Nick Patan, and Sheldon Dries. Extras on defense, I have Madison Bowie, Brad Hunt, Oli Ulevi, Jet Wu, and Luke Shen. Jet Wu is a player who I think can be an impact guy for Vancouver going forward, an impact defenseman. Maybe not so much this year, but I think next year for sure I could see him making the team. Oli Ulevi, I mean, what can I say? This guy definitely has been a disappointment throughout his 5 years in the Vancouver Canucks organization so far. We should be talking about him being a lock, 100% sure, already established himself as an NHL player, but unfortunately for the Canucks and Ulevi, that's not the case so far. Madison Bowie is a guy who has seen a ton of NHL action, and I could see him potentially coming in on that third pairing a lot and seeing some good NHL minutes this season. And in goal, we have Thatcher Demko, Yaroslav Halak, and I also put Michael DiPietro down as well. And no, Michael DiPietro is not related to Rick DiPietro, and I hope for Michael's sake and the Canucks' sake, he does not turn out to be as big of a bust as Rick DiPietro was. And I really like Thatcher Demko as a #1 goalie. I think Yaroslav Halak is a very solid backup. I wouldn't put him as a good starting goalie, but like I said, solid backup. He can play you or give you like 30 games, 40 games a season. But I think Thatcher Demko will get the bulk of the workload. Travis Green has been talked about a lot as far as his job security goes, and I think if the Canucks get off to a really poor start this year, I would not be surprised to see them let him go. And the thing with Travis Green, I think he's a good coach, but can he be a great coach and get to that next level, get the Vancouver Canucks to that next level? They seem to spend a lot of time in their own end, and that's something that Travis Green is going to want to correct this season. When you have a top six as skilled as the Vancouver Canucks, the last thing you want to do is be wasting those guys' energy playing defense in their own end for most of the night. Now for a playoff prediction. Do the Vancouver Canucks make the playoffs in that Pacific Division, in that Western Conference? Yes, I say they do make the playoffs. I think they have a good roster, maybe not an elite one yet. I think as time goes on, some of these youngsters will become even more elite. They do already have elite young players like Pettersson and Besser. But especially in that Pacific Division, I mean, it's not a very tough competition. There's not a lot of tough competition, I should say, for the Vancouver Canucks out there. So I think they should be a playoff team. I could even see them sliding into top 3 in that division as well. Now is the time for Vancouver to finally take the next step. Not just be that team that's kind of hanging around at the last few years. You know, they went from being a really bad team from like 2016 to 2019, I want to say, or 2018. 2019 to 2021, they've kind of been a team that's around it a little bit, except for maybe last year. You know, it was a weird year, let's just put it that way, and nothing could go right for the Canucks. But now they got to be the team that's for real. They're in the hunt every year, not just for a playoff spot, but for the Stanley Cup, because that's why Jim Benning rebuilt this team, not just to be a playoff team, but to be a true Stanley Cup contender. There it is, a season preview for the Vancouver Canucks. Please let me know what you all think in the comment section below. Also, please like and subscribe and share this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.